here to talk about Ross County, and we'll start with Ryan. Are you ready?
Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon. Could you give us a squad update, please?
No problems after last game. Rabbi and Oscar were today the first time in full training. So yeah, we need to see if that's good enough to be in a selection. They've been a long time out, but it's very positive news that they can do everything again. It was an intense training session today with the guys who didn't play, so that's very positive news.
You must feel the team will be in a good place after the win the other night.
Yeah, but they were already in a good place before. Otherwise, you cannot do that. So no, it's confirmation what they are doing, and you need to grab the moments. You need also that part of luck. We spoke about that. We had a few weeks also really good goalkeepers against us, and I don't want to say Robbie is also a really good goalkeeper, and he made a few really good saves also in that way. But we were lethal. We came a lot in the offensive third, like last couple of weeks, and we were clinical in that way. And we were better on the ball, more with more quality in the central positions. In that way, losing less balls, getting less transitions. The defense was also very good, but of all team, not giving away one real chance, because everybody pressed directly after losing ball. Was the same against St. Johnstone. The manager said it also after the game, that it was difficult to play their own game in that way. And we need to continue in that way. Those are our principles. That's what we want to get. But it's week after week, month after month, putting all the attention to all the details, but you cannot do all the details at the same time with all squads. So they're picking up things, they're learning things, and that's positive. So we want more evenings like that, because that's the football I want to see.
At the annual general meeting yesterday, there was a confirmation that 5 players left the club in the summer for just over £800,000, which surprised many Rangers supporters. Have they got a point?
That's a hard one for me to say, because it's not my job to do that first. Secondly, there's also maybe something to do with the wages that players were earning here. And every player, I was the same. You always want to earn more and more and more, and not to reduce your wages. So maybe because of that, some players, and that's the dangerous thing, because if I say one thing, then you guys take everything of all that group on the same way. So every story has its own thing in that. Some were older, some were maybe earning a lot of money that other teams don't want to pay that. Because of that, it's clear that the players were not really big in the market, that everybody wanted to sign them. So that creates also that you have less leverage in those negotiations.
Does that raise an issue, and is that something the club has to get better at in terms of raising the profile of the players and making them more marketable, more sellable?
Yeah, but what is one of the major things to be marketable as a player? To have players where other teams want to invest in. What is the first thing important in that way?
Form and quality.
Yes, but I think one thing is even more important. No idea. Age. Because if you sign a player 28, 29, 30 years old, and you give him a contract for 2, 3 years, 4 years or 5 years, and some players still had contracts also, you know you don't have added value. So you see in all the business of football, those things become more difficult. And all the clubs, is it Rangers, is it in Europe, it was in Monaco the same. They changed the system in that way, getting more younger players in. Bruges the same. So it's a logical thing. So in that way, it's more difficult to sell players who are at a certain age. So those are things you need to take in consideration also.
In terms of people that are adding value to your team, Cerny's been impressive of late. I think it's 9 goals he's got since he came here. Last season you missed out on Abdallah Sima when you had him on loan. Is this something you don't want to happen again with Barca?
Yeah, no, I had these discussions with the board in June when everybody knew the numbers of the season and the years before. So you heard now some numbers also yesterday. So in that moment that we knew we had to reduce the wages a lot because it's a big reduce. And if you make the comparison with, that was from yesterday, the numbers from 1 year. If you compare with 2 years ago or 3 years ago, it's even much more. So the wages had to be lowered a lot. One of the points that we talked about is having players on loan. It's something we need for the moment because we don't have the money to buy Václav for the moment now, or we didn't have the money to buy Abda at that moment. But we need to see and we need to try every year to have one player less on loan and one player more. That's an asset for the club because we're gonna have a similar situation at the end of the season in that way. And Abda wanted to stay here, loved to stay here, but of course other teams are also interested. And one moment he chooses also for his career, for his wages, for everything. So of course all the club wants to lower the amount of players on loan, and that's a strategy for the next couple of years. But you cannot solve all these problems in one transfer window. What we did to make the team younger, and also it was a gap with 7 players leaving for free. People don't realize that, but you need to replace them by 7 players, so you need a budget for that also. So all these things in consideration, that's a strategy for the future. Yes.
Is Václav somebody that you think you could, pursue next?
That's not. He loves it here. Clearly, he told me also last week that he never felt better in his career than now. Physically, mentally, in the team, in the dressing room, with the staff, in the club, with the fans, everything. But of course, he has a contract with another club at the end of the season, so that's negotiations again.
Given everything you said about the transfer model, the player training model and age, does that mean there has to be a greater focus on the academy here, changing things?
Yes, we are busy with all those things. Yes, that's also a major part, because if you can get players out of your academy, yes, you invested money in that, and it's still a lot of money, but it's not the same as buying a player for 3 or 4 million in that way. So, of course, that's why we're busy. I give an example. Rasmus Kausland, in the year before I came here, he trained 5 times with the first team in all season. We have now 90% of the players of the academy who train almost every month with us. So they have much more moments to train with the first team. And we have a lot of players of academy in the squad. But what I talked about also, you have the academy here and you have the demands of Rangers first team there, because it's about winning every game, it's about trophies, so it's a big gap in that way. So we need to make this gap smaller. We're working on that with giving them more trainings, giving them game time, finding interesting opponents also from abroad, to give them different challenges in that way, to make them grow, that they have enough game time, enough training time. And I spoke about that already several times. I think the biggest thing, and I don't speak about Rangers only, I speak about Scottish football, it's about getting the better talents, the better young 16, 17, 18, 19 years old to play in the second league in Scotland in that way, but in an environment where you can control things, not to put one player on loan somewhere and you don't control anything about how they train, what they do, prevention, games, are they playing or not playing or whatever. You don't have any control of that. So in several countries in Europe who are Similar with Scotland, they are doing that and they're getting results out of that also. And I hear the national coach speaking about that a few weeks ago also, that there need to be a drastic turnaround in what's going on with the young players in Scotland. I think it's the perfect example. You have several countries, Holland a long time, Belgium also a long time already, Holland much longer, Croatia, other countries also, in Scandinavia also, doing that, and they're getting the results. So I don't see how that can be stopped then. If it's better for Scottish football, then everybody would need to stand behind it. Maybe the most important thing, or one of the most important things, is that the press also agree with that, and that you guys push in that way also, to get the ship of Scottish young players toward a better destination than it is now.
One of the things the SFA are talking about is cooperation agreements between bigger clubs and smaller clubs. Is that a positive move, you think?
Yeah, it's a step forward for sure, but is it enough step to get the result that you want? It's more a question mark. It's more difficult still to put 5 players on loan somewhere, for example, and there's no connection with the manager there. That's different when the manager is somebody out of the club, like it is in Holland with the second team of PSV or the second team of Ajax. It's controlled by the club. So it's a totally different world in that way, that you can have this pathway for young players. If say a 16, 17-year-old here and you put him on loan somewhere else, maybe the manager says, I don't want, after one bad game, he's not strong enough in the duel, so I don't put him anymore. When it's from a club, you can have a philosophy to say, no, the next 3 months, he needs to play also and to make mistakes to grow and to become better. And you get a result at the end. Otherwise, it's all short-term decisions. And to develop young players is long-term. It's with making mistakes, learning out of that. Of course, not giving them 10 chances, because they need to learn, they need to become better, but it's more longer term. So it's a better solution than it was in the past, but I think to really make big progression, you need to have teams there.
Last year, just perhaps, sorry, last couple of years.
Yeah, sorry. Can I just ask you about an off-field matter? I know the club today, along with 2 other clubs, were charged by the league for the fans using pyrotechnics.
I heard that, yeah.
How disappointed are you that it's got to this stage, and perhaps any message to fans who continue to do this?
Yeah, I gave that message already several times, so everybody knows my opinion about that. And first, it's not safe. Secondly, it costs the club money, and we want to use that money in a better way, that we can do the right things with the squad, that the squad becomes better and the fans can be more happy with the squad. So again, clear message that it doesn't help in any sense towards the team in that way. And I understand that people want to make a good atmosphere and maybe using those things, but the best thing they can use is their voice and to sing and to support the players, because in that way I've been really happy in Scottish football with the atmosphere in the stadiums, and that's much more important than the pyros.
Do you think it can be stopped? You said yourself you've made several comments on this issue, but not just with this club, that behaviour is repeated.
I think with respect, the manager spoke about pyro rammers, so I don't think there's much more can be said.
No. I don't know what how the organization is, how the body scans are or whatever. So I can only say what I said the last couple of times and this time again. I think it's really clear for everybody who has good intentions for the club.
Okay, we'll move on to part 2, embargo.